Drive, brought to you by Golf Pride.
Welcome into this Saturday edition of Morning Drive. Great to have you with us. I'm Gary Williams, very pleased to be with John Cook, 11-time winner on the PGA Tour, 10 more on PGA Tour champions. Jaime Diaz, one of the great writers in the game of golf. And Matt Adams, you can listen to his great radio program, Fairways of Life, Monday through Friday, anywhere in the world. And guys, we know that it's about the where, the when, and who's going to be there when it comes to the world of sports when it resumes. And when it comes to golf, specifically the PGA of America. Now, their CEO, Seth Waugh, has said previously that their PGA Championship, scheduled at TPC Harding Park, will be held without fans if necessary. Now, the next big event for them, of course, is that Ryder Cup scheduled for Whistling Straits. He was asked early this week by Damon Hack if the discussions are ongoing as to whether they would hold it without fans. And on top of that, world number one Rory McIlroy, he added his opinion on the possibility of that taking place.
We've begun to talk about it for sure. Some of the captains have commented on it. Certainly no event, much less a major, is the same without fans. We all understand that. We agree with you that it's a unique asset in the sense that the first shot on the first day is actually perhaps the most watched event of the whole thing, right, as opposed to the final putt on the last day. And so it is particularly hard to imagine a Ryder Cup without fans. And we will get together with all the bodies in golf and again decide what's in the best interest of the game. We have partners, obviously, in the European Tour, very close partners. We also partner with the PGA Tour. We will all sort of get together and think about it. We're hopeful that we can have it with fans in Wisconsin in September. What a great exclamation point to this season, if you will, and also for the world. It would just be a wonderful thing, I think, for the game and for the world if we can pull off, a Ryder Cup.
I have a pretty strong view on this, Trotty, and I get the financial implications for everyone involved, European Tour, PGA of America, broadcast partners, all that sort of stuff. There's a lot that goes into putting on the Ryder Cup that people probably don't know or don't appreciate. But having a Ryder Cup without fans it's not a Ryder Cup. I would much rather them delay it until 2021 to play the Ryder Cup than play it at Whistling Straits without fans. And that's from a European going to America, knowing that I'm going to get abuse. Obviously, it would be better for Europeans to play without fans because we would deal with some of the stuff that you have to put up with. But at the same time, if it came to whether they had to choose between not playing the Ryder Cup or playing it without fans, I would say just delay it for a year and play it in 21. And then if they do delay it until 21, the next Ryder Cup's supposed to be in Italy. And we know how affected Italy was with coronavirus and COVID-19. So it gives that country an extra year to prepare for the Ryder Cup in 23 instead of in 22.
John, let me start with you as somebody who played in the Ryder Cup. You did it on the road. Should the Ryder Cup be held without fans if that's the only way to conduct it, or would you rather it be postponed?
Well, certainly Rory is a forward thinker. There's no doubt about it. He will speak his mind. And I played enough, competed enough on weekends off the wrong side of the draw and not in front of very many people, but I also played enough on the right side of the draw towards the end of the day, having chances to win golf tournaments and feeding off the fans. So the 93 Ryder Cup, with my experience, besides watching on television, that one to me, when Chip Beck and I walked up on the first tee against Nick Faldo and Colin Montgomery, you could just feel that, it was like the fans there were thinking, why are they even playing this match? This is not even going to be close. And as the day went on and the match went on, and we were topping their putts and we were ahead the whole match, Chip and I, you could draw off the crowd and the fans that we were doing something pretty special, negatively and positively. So my family was there. I had two teammates from Ohio State were there. I could feel their presence. And so I did feed off, the reaction and then the emotions of the fans. And, over there, Captain Watson said, make sure that you feed off what's going on around you, whether it's noise or whether it's silence. You could feed off of that, and I just kept feeding it, all day long, on what was going on and what was about to happen. So, and I did feel the fans, and I tend to agree with Rory, Matt Adams, that if there's no fans, I don't think there should be a Ryder Cup.
Yeah, I agree with him as well, John. I have to tell you, I loved the hair in those video clips that we saw from that Ryder Cup.
So
it was fantastic. Yeah, it was. It was that. So I agree because, first of all, the prospect of having or not having a Ryder Cup in a year in which we're starving for sports content and starving for golf content would seem to say, you know what, whatever you have to do to have it, whether there's fans there or whether there's not fans there. But I don't actually think that will be the case based upon what we've heard so far in the month of September. The case being defined as not having a ton of top-tier golf. In fact, it's going to be the complete opposite. We're going to have so much golf coming at us so fast. The week before the scheduled Ryder Cup is going to be a major, and it's going to be the U.S. Open, no less. Then we have the Masters sitting in prospect in November. So we're going to have plenty of top-tier golf. I think that Rory said it's not going to be a Ryder Cup without the fans there. Padraig Harrington said to me less than a week ago, and I'm quoting, he said, "It might not have been clear at the start, but it's clear now. The Ryder Cup will not go ahead without spectators," close quote. Clearly, the winds of change have impacted that now that golf's governing bodies, Jaime, are talking about the possibility of having it without fans. But given Rory's reasoning, which I happen to agree with, like John, I think that this is something that we don't have to rush. This is something that we can let breathe and let bloom in all the glory that is the Ryder Cup. I don't think, in my case, my opinion, that we have to fit it in. What's yours?
Well, I'm going to take the opposing view, even though I know it's a long shot. The odds are against the Ryder Cup being held probably. But I do think in this moment, it would be great to compensate and err towards having it because it would be such a huge Ryder Cup, therapeutic for the world. I understand there's a lot of big-time golf, but the Ryder Cup is special. I've always said the home fans, that's the biggest advantage in the Ryder Cup. And I think if you look back, that's the biggest factor in terms of giving one team an edge. But having said that, I think without fans, it could still be exciting. And I've watched a lot of match play tournaments, whether it's amateur or the World Match Play, where there were no fans hardly at all, and yet the matches were extremely tense. And I think in a televised situation, like the CBS Golf Classic used to be, you do feel the intense pressure and you feel the emotions and the thoughts of the players. I think that's still really compelling television, and you could possibly, because no fans are there, make it a more creative broadcast, maybe more intimate camera and mic work that could make it even more immediate to the people. And then finally, the European Tour is in trouble right now financially. This is a big chunk of money that's needed at this moment. It's almost like a bailout. I would hate to see that go away for those guys. So I think there's some reasons to hold it, even though it's not going to be perfect. It could be a very special Ryder Cup.
Jaime, I think the last thing you said is where everyone would have great empathy for the European Tour. This is such an important property to their financial well-being, primarily if it's at home, but when it's on the road, again, it solves so many other financial issues they have, and that is when things are normal. But I agree with you that television has great ingenuity, but those other things that you talked about, those individual matches that we've seen over the years, whether it's the anonymity of seeing an early round match in the U.S. Amateur, those are just that. They're individual competitions. The sound of silence that John Cook and Chip Beck were trying to create in 1993. This is the greatest team competition in all of professional golf, in all of golf for that matter, Matt, in the absence of those crowds. And think about Bubba Watson in 2012 on that first tee at Medina and him getting that crowd worked into a lather, wanting them to make noise while he was making impact to a tee shot. Rory McIlroy at Hazeltine in 2016. Saying, I can't hear you. Those images are the most important images that this event kind of hangs its hat on. And oh, by the way, at Paris in 2018, it was Cameron Indoor Stadium, not around the 18th green on the first tee. This event, the texture of this event has been built upon the partisan nature of these crowds. The absence of it, I think, just makes it anything but what it is. As Rory said, without fans, it's not a Ryder Cup.